strolling.
When was the last time you played at the back room?
Last time, so I played at the back room. It was January of 2020, right before the shit hit the fan.
Oh, dude, yeah.
So we
Was
played.
that with Dog Bad?
That was with Dog Bad. We opened for Yam House, a Minneapolis like pop band. Super, super fun. Honestly, probably one of my favorite shows we did as a band is Dog Bad.
Yeah.
You know, when you just have those shows where everything just kind of like lines up together, like the sound is great in the room.
The sound there is so good.
Sounds great. You've got a good crowd, and you're just really like connecting with the people on stage and the people out there.
Dude, on stage, the sound there is awesome.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this Saturday.
Hell yeah, dude.
So that's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, I'm super pumped for that show. It's like good to feel like really comfortable on stage too, compared to as much as I love like the basement house shows. You like as a vocalist or even a guitarist, you can't hear yourself.
Yeah.
Shit most times.
Do you get nervous at all ever?
For
Like just performing like with Social Sig?
It depends on the show. Like. Not as much as I used to. When I was like doing shows in high school and stuff, I'd be shitting my pants and not even like looking at people in the crowd, just keeping my head down the entire time. But I think it's more of excitement now.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you?
Really, once I like got in the rhythm of it, especially like in college with like Dog Bad.
Yeah.
I never really had much stage fright in like high school. If you look at videos of me playing in high school, I had like one band, and I did like talent shows and things like that.
Yeah.
And I was like literally stiff as well. You could like see me, no expression, no smile. My parents would be like, Isaac, you look like you're having a horrible time playing. And now, a lot of people compliment me on my stage presence. Like
dude, you
really,
got that.
I really get into it now. Now my parents like, you're doing too much, Isaac. Stop. But I don't really think about it too much.
Mm-hmm.
I just like go out, have fun. I just listen to like I don't know, like when I listen and like things are like ruined, like I just want to move and I want to
totally
interact. And
do you think playing like in the jazz like doing the jazz jams, do you think that helps with stage presence at all?
Yeah, so I was gonna say I'm very comfortable playing like funk shows or like stuff with Moonglow or like that, those kind of things, like rock gigs where it's like when it comes to like stuff where it's more like jazz and like solo gigs are the worst, where it's just solo guitar. That's like the hardest thing that I'm trying to get into. Even when it's like I recently had a this is a busy week, but I had a recital performance for all the students I teach at the Academy of Performing Arts. Is where main place I teach, and it's mostly kids.
Okay.
And I've done 3 recitals. We do like 2 a year, and we had one this last week. And those I get really nervous because there's like the pressure of like I play with all my students. Like I will like they'll play a song.
Ooh,
like,
that would be so
Amazing Grace.
nerve-wracking.
And it's like it's because it's very like it's just 2 guitars, so it's like it's very like if you make a mistake, it's gonna be heard. While in the rock and like those big shows, you can hide under a lot. And jazz is kind of the same thing where everything's pretty like clean. Or if you're playing like the melody or like it's like it's pretty like everything can be heard, at least to me, at least in my ears, and then I imagine like the audience
and to the
too.
average listener too. If you're not listening for it, and
Yeah.
looking directly at you and what you're doing, they're not gonna.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, right? Like if you make a mistake, especially like with the recitals and with the kids, it's not a big deal. But I remember being really nervous. Like,
because their parents are all.
Yeah, I had one kid bring. He was playing Amazing Grace. And usually the kids will come up and they'll bring their music. And for me, it's like they have the music and they have the chords written above. So they'll play the melody and I'll play the chords. One kid came up and he's like, I memorized a song. And I'm like, great, good job. And then I realized, he doesn't have the chords.
Oh, no.
So, and this has like happened all in stage. So I did it like mostly by ear. There's like one chord I biffed.
Sure.
That was and
all the power too.
It's
That's
it's a simple song, but like when you're on the spot, it's like okay, what is that? What is the chord coming next?
Totally. Did you tell the crowd like?
No,
at
no,
all? You just
no,
went
no.
for
You just. I mean, one thing I've been really working on with live performance, and also just like in my practice room, is learning how to make a mistake and not physically react to it. So that's something I've been actively practicing. So like usually on stage when I make a mistake, I'll go ooh, or like especially in
Oh,
jazz and
sure.
stuff. But one of my teachers, Neil, who I had a lesson with today, I remember, or maybe it wasn't him. Someone told me that they noticed like I make like I knew you made a mistake here because you made this face, and then I was like, oh wow, like people really do notice that.
That's so
So I
true.
started getting in the habit of like when I improvise or when I play or practice in the room, every time I make a mistake, I just stone cold.
Yeah.
Just keep it stone cold. And then most people don't notice it. And also, you stay focused because when you start
Right.
reacting physically, like you making moves, yeah. Or like, it's funny every now and then to like if you make like an obvious mistake and you look at your bandmate and you like have a
Right.
laugh like that's one thing. But I think it's a really good thing to practice, especially for anybody who's trying to get into performing. Learning how to, and I teach this to my kids. Like, if you make a mistake, like if you're playing Amazing Grace and you make a mistake, just don't dwell on it. Just keep moving
Yeah.
forward. Just know where you are in the song, and everything will be okay.
Yeah. That's really good
Because the
advice.
audience probably won't even notice
Right. Literally.
unless you like again physically react, which is I was like very notorious for that. So yeah.
Same thing with like if your like your guitar chord or something is not acting right, or like an equipment issue. If
Yeah.
you like keep it cool and like like you just gotta stay calm under that pressure and try to troubleshoot as best as possible. And like if you're like kind of just having a bad time with it, because I've been there. I'm thinking of some gigs I had in high school where like my amp was just like cutting in and out or something goofy, and I was just like up there like kind of making an obvious face, like almost like it's not my fault I sound like shit, but like yeah, that's a very funny way to look at it.
Yeah, yeah. It varies from situation to situation, but as you get more experience, you learn how to like. I remember like one thing that happened. We Moonglow played at like a farmer's market, and our power kept cutting out, which meant like our guitar and our bass and vocals and keys would cut out. So we would just have drums.
It gets so frustrating.
Drums and saxophone, and when that happens, what I try to get to happen is like drums, saxophone, you solo. Like I'll fix this. You keep the music going because we have like. It was one of those things where it's like we're making money by people tipping us, so it's like let's keep the energy going. Yep. I think there was a similar situation at the Green Room. I don't know if you're familiar with
I've heard
the venue.
Yeah, never been.
I think Clayton is like lives in that building. I think or in that yeah.
Okay.
I think he does. And
is that
it's
in
cool
Walker's Point?
It's in Walker's Point.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think he just moved to River West. Last I talked to him.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, so
he could have been.
But they had a show there, and I think the power cut out, and the band. I was watching on the live stream, Cosmic Endeavors, and they kept it going.
Yeah.
And like that's the thing. Like some bands will like some musicians at jam sessions, if something like that happens, like if technical difficulties, they'll just stop.
Yeah.
But then you have the people who just like, we'll make it work. Keep on going, improvise. Like that's something I picked up a lot working. Playing with R&B bands in the area. That's something that's like huge. It's like always. Let's keep the show going no matter like what happens, because a lot of those shows are like put together hastily.
Sure,
but but it works because you have a lot of musicians who know how to improvise, and you can
totally.
And that's kind of like just everyone's busy. We don't always have time to rehearse. Let's just get together, make music, make some magic happen, and you have to be able to like deal with anything that comes your way.
Totally.
So.
And that comes with like. You could either look at it like it's going to ruin the show, or you could look at it like it's an opportunity.
Or it could be a highlight. It could be like...
it's like, remember when the power went out and they kept it going?
Yeah,
like, people remember that.
When it comes to live shows, I'm always about like moments. I always try and think about like every song, that like with Moonglow especially, it's like... Because you can easily fall into like, okay, here's the first song. We have piano chords, vocals, then guitar, sax solo, outro. Next song, piano, verse, chorus, verse, solo, outro. So I'm always looking for like what's the thing that's gonna make this song like a moment? Like, totally. this is the song where Brent has a really cool bass solo. Yep. This is a song in Dog Bad where we used to do these steps. Like
I remember that.
Well, like simple things like that. And then in the R&B circuit, that was a big thing too.
Yeah, totally. So. And it kind of just incorporates the idea of putting a show together because you can go from playing just your songs consecutively in a row, but I think it's the time in between each song is really important too.
Yes.
One of my biggest pet peeves is when there's a band, specifically a front person, like if there's just awkward silence upstage.
Yep.
Or the biggest pet peeve of mine is when someone is tuning their guitar and you can hear it through the speakers. Ding, ding,
Yes.
ding, and it's just,
Yeah.
you gotta cut that out.
Yeah, I got flagged for that once
Yeah.
at a show.
Hey, at least someone's looking out for you.
And like, yeah, there's really like very simple things you can do to like it's like nothing super crazy. You don't have to have like full on like orchestrated things or like scripts or anything, choreography.
Yeah.
Though that that stuff is like the extra mile and definitely helps a band stand out. But
Totally.
simple things like while we're getting ready for while like Joe's doing banter, have Sterling lay down a beat, just keep some energy going, just a little bit, give the audience a little taste, and then have that lead into.
Yep.
Or the other approach to it is just have no banter, have songs that transition each other. Like that's like kind of like with punk shows, it's just like boom, 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 song, song, let's go, let's go. I love that kind of approach as well because it's so effective and conducive to the music and the space.
Joe has really good banter. I love his,
yeah.
Antics are so funny.
Yeah. Joe, I'm very blessed to have been in two bands where with Dogbad Carter and who just were really great as front people. Yeah. And great. I see them as like artists, songwriters, and like creatives, and I've always like, yes, I'm like an artist, I make music, but I've always seen myself more like not the visionary, but the person who like will support it, like the trying to find the word. Like I always say, like Joe is like the songwriter, I'm more of the arranger. Like I kind of take like the essence of what Joe's brings in his songs, because he's often the one who comes up with the initial progressions, and then I'll figure out, okay, like how can I like elevate this? What can I have like the drums doing, the guitar doing, or like what parts can we do to like enhance it, or like I'm always very cautious of like what are things that are happening that we can like remove. Like it's usually a matter of like removing stuff. Like it's crazy when you really listen to like your favorite songs and really listen to like what each individual person is doing. And you'll pick up on things like, oh, they're not playing at all during this whole part. And those are like details a lot of people, like especially like cover bands, or like just because I've played a lot of cover music kind of gigs. And those are details people will miss, or if people get it, then it really like accentuates. I don't know, but it really adds to it. So
you're the flavor provider.
I've always struggled to find the word for. I guess I could just generally say like artists.
I would say, man, you're an artist. Like that doesn't suppress anything that you make as your art. Like Joe, or like doesn't do the things that you do. I don't know, man. Like you do your own thing.
It's something I've heard. I don't hear it talked about as much anymore, but I remember when I was first playing with Dogbad, I was hearing a lot of bands talk about how cover bands aren't really artists. And and I think there is an argument for that, and like there's the whole thing about like there's not enough space or like support for like local original musicians. That's a whole whole other conversation, whole other thing. But I think that with cover bands, because when you think of classical music and like jazz, I think of like the two big ones where it's essentially cover music. We're playing other people's music, but you can't deny there's like artistry behind putting the time in that craft, and how someone plays one melody, especially like in jazz, how someone person interprets this song that's been played like hundreds and hundreds of times over the last century.
Totally.
How that is like a really clear vessel for artistic and creative expression. So I think when it comes to cover bands, I think there's definitely like a lot of work and a lot of artistry that can go into like capturing the essence of like what what made that music special, why people are willing to hear not the actual band play.
Oh, totally.
So
You go to Nashville and that's all you see
yeah.
is cover bands, and it's a fucking great time.
Yeah. To me, I've kind of, ever since I started doing music full time, I had to like, I kind of struggle with like having, art in my work be like one thing. While it is definitely a blessing and I'm grateful to do it, there's always been that kind of like mental like divide of like what is my work and then what is my expression. And like I think like the thing like with like when I was working at a hospital before that,
that's right, you did that crazy
I did
shit.
yeah, which definitely motivated me during COVID, which motivated me to push
Yeah.
they pushed me towards me doing music. But the thing with the hospital though that I did appreciate in a sense was when I went to the hospital, like that was the thing I did, and then I came home and then I could work on my art, and like then there was a separate time for me. I think when I started doing music full time, there's a little while I got like kind of a lot of anxiety, a lot of sadness, and it had to do with like I was always thinking about myself, like always in the state of like being in my head and my creative processes. But one thing that's helped me kind of think about it differently is there's this saxophonist named Patrick Bartley. He's a great jazz saxophonist, and he's like based in Japan.
Okay.
And I love a lot of music, and he talks about a lot of this stuff. And he talks about the difference between like in his mind, there's like stuff he does as an artist and stuff he does as a working musician. Where like the artist is like you're doing music for yourself, you're expressing yourself, you're doing like your thing, and the working musician, just bluntly put, is like you're making music for other people. And like the skills that are required, there's like a lot of crossover, but there's two very different approaches. So I've like actually went in and like documented and I put in the time. This is the time I spend with like my art, and this is the time where I'm like putting in like hours. Like I do my like I'm not teaching and like gigging 40 hours a week, but I document like my practice and everything. So I do like my 40 plus hours, because that's one of the things Steve Peplin, my like biggest guitar mentor, who like pushed me to doing this music full time. That's what he said, is like, if you want to do music, art, or whatever your creative pursuits are, the thing you love full time, then you need to treat it like work, like put in your 8 hours. And that's like the big, like playing even when you don't want to play.
Right.
That's like something that I really struggled at first, but now it's like, this is my work, this is my
Okay. So you documented when every time you were either playing music or making music.
Yeah, my system is I have a notebook, and I wish I brought this notebook. It's like I have like a circle for every hour that I put into the instrument, and I have like a pretty like the thing I've learned over the last year, I think I've gotten really good at, is like learning how to practice. I think that's like the thing that a lot of people struggle with, and
dude, a certain number of hours you should like frame it and then start the new one.
Yep. Yeah, like no joke. It's like it's fun to I over document things.
How many hours do you think that you've had since you started? When did you go full time exactly?
It was June 2021, so it's been over a year now.
Around then, man. That was around that same summer that that house show that I posted about was.
Yep.
Wow, man.
Yep. So yeah.
How many hours do you think in each category you think you've docked?
If we're talking about the revelation of like splitting artistry and work, like my working stuff, is pretty recent development, so I can't say for certain.
Sure.
But definitely like, I mean, if I include like teaching, gigging, rehearsals, and like practicing with like a purpose, like hardcore practice, I easily put in over 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
So I can't do the math. My math has gotten really bad. I use my calculator. I use my calculator to figure out 8 plus 5. I'm really bad. So but like that much. People at home can do the math.
Yeah.
That much. And yeah, it's really, it's cool. It's really I'm always just like super pumped.
Is the goal to keep that going?
Yeah, the goal is just to survive, and I think like now that like I'm at the point where I'm actually making like as much as I made at the hospital now, which is a cool,
that's so sick,
milestone. And so now it's more about like teaching is something I love to do. I want to teach and perform. Some people are like,
Awesome.
teaching can be kind of like a means to like get by so you can get you
Sure.
full time. But for me, like I always love to teach. I want to
Yeah.
teach for the rest of my life, all levels. So like with teaching, like I think the ultimate goal for music teachers is like you want to get to a point where you can pick your students, because you
Oh,
start off
sure,
you
right.
start off like going like the places I'm at, like it's really great because they bring students to you, but nothing's more difficult than teaching someone who doesn't want to learn music. That's hard. And I used to be that student. I remember like getting
Right.
violin and piano lessons as a kid and hating it. So now it's funny to
Gonna
be
want to be here.
yeah, exactly. Like you know it's gonna be good when I always like I talk to the kid. I'm like, do you have any questions about anything from last time? And the first thing they ask is like, when is this lesson over?
Oh man.
That's like
How long are your lessons?
30 minutes. Thank
30
God.
minutes.
Thank God. Every now and then I have to do an hour-long lesson, and if it's with someone who's like engaged, it's like the best. But
Yeah.
if it's with a kid, like I have a makeup lesson, so they put two together, and those can be pretty rough. But yeah, with teaching, I want to get to the point where you're teaching privately, or like you have your own thing, and I have a few students, private students, where I'm kind of doing that, but it's hard to get that thing to.
So would that be completely separate from like the music academy and guitar center?
Yeah, potentially.
Okay. So you'd be like your own boss kind of thing. set your own
down the
schedule.
line. Though, yeah, I do
That's
really
cool.
I do really like APA and Guitar Center. There's a lot of great students, and I think it's something I need to do. So
Yeah.
because I've definitely in the last year I've learned how to teach a lot better. Not
Sure,
only
right.
like playing music better is important to me, but like pedagogy, like
Yeah.
learning how to like. Because it's always the littlest things that are going to either make something click with someone or not. And just going through the process of explaining very simple things
Sure.
has really given me a better approach to my instrument. And I think everyone should teach to some capacity. Like everyone, like you don't have to be like crazy, like knowledgeable or have like a degree music necessarily. You just need to know something that the other person doesn't,
Literally.
and just go through the process of explaining it, and then it's gonna really test if whether you know your shit or not.
That's so true.
So I think it's always good to set aside time every, like if you're like want to get better at your instrument and you're kind of feel like you're stagnating. I always think teaching is a good way to like, well, do you really know your know your stuff? Do you know where your notes are, how to play a power chord, or like so it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
He kind of keeps you on your toes too.
Oh yeah.
And then like that's cool that you've been able to really hone in your teaching craft a little bit more, because then you can be more confident in like say you wanted to do a private lesson with someone. I feel like if I was doing a lesson, I'd feel kind of weary about setting a price for somebody and be like, I don't know if I'm quality, but if you have like the lessons under your belt, you can feel confident and you're gonna get something out of this.
Yeah, the thing I did, I started off I taught some, I did a little bit, like I showed someone how to play chords in high school, and like it was very like kind of like just like, yeah, we're just hanging out, I'll show you something. I don't think I charged for it. I don't remember if I did. But when I, like the thing was, is like I for those at home, I don't have a music degree. So like to get into teaching music was kind of a weird path. So like how I did it was during COVID, I actually went on like Reddit and I went to guitar subreddits and I would find people who are like asking questions. Sorry if I'm like pausing a lot. I'm just processing the.
Oh yeah, you're chilling.
I don't
champagne of beers right there, baby.
I don't drink a lot anymore. Sorry. Anyway, what was I talking? Oh yeah, guitar subreddits. I find posts of people, and I was teaching like I taught like this one guy from Canada, and we would just virtual lessons, and it was very like
on Reddit.
I charged for like over Zoom, and like and I would. And I taught him for like a few months actually. It was really cool. And then I taught like some people I knew, just friends. So until I got to a point where like I've taught this many people and I could put it on a resume.
Sure, right.
And I also had all my performance experience, so I could put that on the resume. And then Guitar Center was Guitar Center. You just need to know how to read music, and you need to like so it was pretty easy to get into Guitar Center, but. Academy was like through like word of mouth. Like someone was quitting, and they try to get someone. And
Yeah,
then
I
that
remember
person
when
needs
you
them.
got that one, you were really stoked about getting the Academy
Yes,
one because
that
it was
that was
yeah.
that was a stroke of luck because I was like perfect availability fit in my guitars. And like, oh great, now I'm teaching full time.
Right.
Here I am, and like the big thing, and this also applies to gigs as well. When people are like always trying to find gigs, and like I think a huge part of it, if not everything, is just about being a good hang.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when you go to shows, like meet people, talk to people. Like when I play shows, like you don't want to be the person that like shows up late or even not even that, but like let's say like you want to be the person who's like not asking, I need a guitar cable, I forgot my guitar cable. You want to be the person with the extra guitar cable to give to that person,
Totally.
and that will like people will remember you for little things like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm always over prepared, so like I'm always kind of I always have extra stuff,
Right.
and so like just having that presence. Like I've gotten like when I was doing engineering, and I had a one of my like internships at Freightert was through a connection I made in music, not in school. It was through someone I met at a show.
Nice.
So I think, this goes for anything, like just being active in the community. Like I always try to take the time out to go out to shows, go to support people, and then not just for like, oh, this is going to be good for me in the future.
Right.
It's just like it's just it's mainly because I enjoy it, but it is definitely the thing that like I believe Jimmy talked about this a little bit last time as far as like the origins of Dog Bad. Like Dog Bad's, like all of Dog Bad's gigs really just came from like Jimmy, like meeting Jimmy and just like chatting with him at the show, being like, hey, we're like cool, and then like he asked us to do the show, and then that spiraled into a bunch of other things. I know a lot of people will like reach out to venues and like try and get in that way. I don't think a lot of our shows, I think with Dog Bad, not sure about Moonglow because Joe does most of the booking, but a lot of the shows came from those connections. It was never like reaching out to like the venue owners. The venue owners like have their own agenda.
Totally.
If you're going to go down that process, the thing you should do, which Joe has done, I know he's done, is reach out to people on Bandcamp, like reach out to artists and say like, hey, we're this band. If you got any other shows coming up, we have similar kind of vibes. Think of us.
Totally.
Like just connecting with the artists and
that's
the
a pretty
creators.
normal thing too. Like, it can be really intimidating if you're like starting a band and see all these bands and being like, oh, they don't want to talk to me. I think you'd be surprised if you either go to shows or message people on Instagram. All my booking is done through Instagram and email, usually starting on Instagram.
And I know it might be like it's kind of easy for me to say like, oh, just like talk to a bunch. I know for some people that can be really really hard, but I think it's worth like definitely like because the harsh reality is like the your music, like if you're like go into music or whatever, your craft, like your music alone, like your chops or whatever alone aren't necessarily gonna get you, because there's a hundreds of bands out there in the world. In Milwaukee alone, there's like hundreds of people like doing kind of the same thing.
Everyone's so good.
Yeah.
So many talented musicians.
So it's like, what's that? And that's kind of like the philosophy I have, like with our not with booking, but with like our live shows. It's like I want to like be a band where like there's something like, oh, remember that band that like dressed in the jumpsuits? That's why I like doing that.
Dude, it's fun. It makes it a show.
It's fun. It makes it special for the audience, but also kind of for me.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, like,
we were talking
with
the social state guys, and they're like, "Damn, those jumpsuits are sick. Like, I want one."
Makes you feel like a superhero. Like a lot of bands I love. Like the big inspiration for that was Cassiopeia, a Japanese fusion band, and they always had like cool outfits and choreography, and they were also just killer musicians, and so they were just like a joy to watch. It always like that looked like they were having fun. So that's a big part of it for me.
Dude, a big thing too was like, or for instance, of going off what we're just talking about, at that Cactus Club show, the last one we played at, you were there, and I don't know if you remember seeing those guys that were in the front row, like just going
Ah, I know
absolutely
those guys.
nuts.
They're
Chapped lips.
chaplets.
Yeah, dude.
Chaplets.
So they messaged
Lips.
after the show and they're like, dogs, that was so much fun. Like, let us know if you want us to bring the energy to a show or if you want us on a bill.
Oh.
And then we're setting up a show for the Washroom in March, and like Totally Cash is on that bill. And then I was looking for a third band, and it was like, fuck yeah, Chap Lips. Those guys are a
Yeah.
good ass time.
I need to see them. If you're at
Yeah,
home, check out
same.
Chaplets.
Yeah, dude.
whenever
They're
they
from
have
Sheboygan, but they're moving to Milwaukee soon.
Good, good. Yeah,
Like,
I need to.
I always want to be a big proponent of like bringing on new people. And like they were a good ass time, so I'm excited to see their show. It's gonna be
Yeah.
a fun night, you know.
Yeah.
So it's all about the hang.
Shout out
really.
to Chaplets.
Yeah, I haven't even listened to any of their music. I don't even know what kind of music they played, but they're just a good vibe. So
Yeah.
like, hop on the bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember talking to Trash too. I don't know if you know Trash.
I've met Trash a few times.
You met Trash, dude?
Good. Trash is good.
He's a legend. He is an absolute goat. Shout out Trash if you're watching this. But he was saying that Chaplips, like Chaplips after the show at Cactus Club, I talked to them for a little bit too, and they were like, yeah, we were like messaging Trash from Totally Cash, and he was just like, hey, you're from Sheboygan. Let me play in Sheboygan. I'll get you down in Chicago. And they're like, fuck yeah, let's do something.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's badass.
Mm-hmm.
Super badass. And I would say too, like a lot of the booking I do is like has come from just being around and doing a show, and then someone is at the show. And
Yeah, another really big part of it, especially for if someone listening is like in a band and they're struggling to find shows or they're just trying to start out, just always I think like the biggest thing that I push, especially with Dogbat, is like no matter what show you're playing, whether you're playing for 100 people, 1,000 people, or like just the bar staff, which we've done shows where we play for just like the bar staff. Always put on your best show. Always like give it your all, because you never know who's listening. It's gonna be that show, and this has happened. It's gonna be that show where like maybe 5 people are there, but you put on a hell of a show. People are gonna remember that. They're gonna talk about it. They're gonna get people to come to your future shows. One of those people might like be booking or like know someone looking for a band. It's like those connections. So always
you have
like
no idea who people know.
always bring your A game, even if it's like shitty circumstances. Like we had a show where at a bar, it was back when the Brewers were like on a roll.
Sure, yeah.
And they like kept postponing our show, so we ended up playing up like 11,
sure,
midnight,
yeah.
and like no one was in the bar, and so yeah, it's hard to put on good shows like in some circumstances. Shit happens, but even then, like still like do your best to put on a good show.
Absolutely.
Bring all the energy that you can. Always be thankful for the people that are there.
Totally.
When we're talking about live show pet peeves, one of my biggest ones, I hate this so much.
Hope I don't do it.
When bands like acknowledge like, oh, there's not a lot of people here, or like they'll like they just you know what I mean, they bring attention to like, oh, there's not a lot of people here, or like you guys are not like shit on the audience, you know what I mean? And and it's like I'm always like, you should just always be like amp up like thank the people who are there. Do that instead. That's always like the better alternative. And like, because that's just the energy that I want as an artist and as an audience member too. I don't want to be like, oh, okay, like you brought attention to that.
Right. Well, no, I agree, and I think that as a musician, and you're putting on a show. Say you're at a show, and there's an example that made me think of this, but like you're at a show, and well, I'll just kind of say without saying any names, but there was this band playing at a basement show a few years ago before COVID, and the main singer was like, it was in between sets, and everyone was outside because the basement was so hot, and they were about to start, and like kind of like started playing, but like stopped and was like, "Hey, can we get like tell everyone to come back down?" And my mentality was always like, dang, like if that's the situation, like I'm just gonna start and let the energy that you put out in the show that you put out, like make them want to come down and watch, or make them stay.
There's definitely circumstances where it's like it's like not your fault. Like like let's say like a situation, like I've had this happen in bands I played at where like really like the headlining band who really should be playing last play second, and then everyone who came there leave, and like especially if the band makes no effort to like keep the people around, like that happens. That sucks. But even then, I think you should never resort to um, like say like there's not an like discounting the people who are there. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like that, because that's how I always like kind of think of it. So I'm always like just be thankful for the people who are there,
Right.
even if it's
Because
just
that sucks.
just even if it's just the bar staff.
If you're in attendance, I'd be like, well,
Yeah.
hey.
And for me, it's like, for me too, the other aspect, even if we were playing for nobody, I'm just like always like happy to be in the process of making music. Like, unless it's like I'm a solo guitar show, like I'm playing for the people in my band too. I'm not just playing for the audience. I'm playing for Joe. I'm playing for Brent. I'm playing for Carter, AJ, Ellen, whoever's in the band.
Yeah.
Playing for you. I'm gonna play the social sig. Like,
yeah. Like you're gonna have a good time regardless.
yeah, regardless. And that's just been my like kind of mental like approach to it.
Yeah.
Like the audience like having that energy of people there is great, but like
Yeah.
even playing by myself, it's like I always like enjoy
Yeah.
that.
You never know when
process.
it's gonna be your last time on stage.
Exactly. That was actually a mentality I still kind of have. It's kind of dark, but like I always think about like if this is my last show, like,
Dude, I think about it a lot.
okay, yeah. I think for anything that you
Yeah.
do, it's it's kind of cliche, YOLO, all that, but like it's like
So true.
it's like it's just what a crazy time we live in where this is a thing. Like,
Dude, right?
Playing, not only playing music, listening to music. Like, we live in a time where like we can find like any music we want, and we live like at the cusp, like at a decade after, or not decade, a century after, like when like jazz has only been around for a little over 100 years, and then blues, rock, and all the shit that
Yeah.
followed, like all this
Dude,
music.
we live in such a sweet spot, I feel like.
Yeah.
Of such an interesting time of human history.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit going on, but there's also like a lot of cool stuff. So
There's
I'm like,
so much cool shit.
Yeah.
Sulking the cool shit. And I think sulking in the cool shit
Sulking
and
in
really
the cool
being the
shit.
best version of yourself. I've had this conversation with a lot of people, but just putting out the energy that you just be your best version of yourself, and I think that will do the best for the world that you would even know,
Yeah.
I don't even know if I said that right,
Real
but
talk.
I'm a little congested.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I want to talk about, so when you're in Dog Bed, what was the scene like before COVID? Because as some of these listeners may know, Isaac was the original bassist of Social Sig.
Was I with the original? Oh, I guess
think
I guess I
so.
was.
Yeah,
Because I remember
man.
when I was at your very first show with Anthony on
Anthony
Cajon.
on the
Shout out to
Cajon,
Anthony
you
Powell.
were there.
And we played
my
Santeria.
God, yeah, dude. So technically, you're the official lead guitarist.
I was the official, first lead
Yeah,
guitarist
man.
and bassist. Yeah, it's funny.
So gnarly, yeah, right.
But yeah, as far as like, it was, for me, it was, at least from my perspective, like I came from Menominee Falls, which is not far from here, but like it's a village. Not a lot goes on there. When I came to Milwaukee for college, in college, like, that's where I really started to see bands live. I remember
What
seeing
was
like
your first live show? Yeah, maybe you were gonna say it. But
ooh,
like, what were your first shows when you came to Milwaukee? Because I think we're in
Okay.
the same year college. Did you graduate 2021?
2020?
So you were a year older than me.
Yes.
Okay.
So my first, let's see. Oh, this is good. This is good to think about. I remember like one of the first shows, one of my first jazz shows was seeing Neil Davis, my current guitar teacher,
cool.
play with like I think it was like a Latin group in a jazz club, and we were able to get in even though we were underage
Sure.
because of I think one of my friends knew one of the percussionists.
Nice.
And live jazz is insane. For anybody like skeptical about jazz, like check out
Dude,
check out some live. I remember you were at the jam
yeah,
session.
man, that was the first time I went. And
Yeah.
That was, and really, you broke it down in like 30 minutes
Yeah.
of like a real, like
Yeah.
I'm sure it goes so deep.
Some people might disagree with me on this, but I think like jazz to me, like, because I had a very similar experience with jazz, like I really didn't get it, and then when someone explained to me, like, oh, this is what's going on, this is the essence of it. It's kind of like sports, where like At least for me, like I didn't really enjoy watching sports until someone explained to me the rules and like some of the more nuances you understand, like the more you understand like why they're doing this play or like the more stuff you know, the more you'll kind of get out of it.
Totally.
Like some people don't like the idea of like you have to put in the work to enjoy this, but I think there's a certain degree to that.
Interesting.
With jazz, like the more like for me personally, the more history and the more like context I know of things, because the more jazz you listen to, you start like it almost becomes kind of like a like inside jokes, or like you hear certain lines, you hear, oh, this came from that, and like, oh, that was clever,
Right.
like and I'm sure there's other very similar things in other genres and other styles of music, especially like with hip hop and stuff, like
Sure.
it's all built on like references and like
some callbacks,
collective knowledge, just like setup, punchline, things like that. Same thing in jazz. So like the more you understand that language, the better. But anyway, that's
let's go back to
I digress. Yeah, I could talk about that all day.
But
anyway,
man, when you broke that down, it opened up a whole world of
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I thought they were just jamming.
Oh no,
felt so ignorant.
I want to stay on this for just a little bit longer.
Yeah,
because I love
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about this.
yeah.
Jazz is like, it's one of those things where like a lot of people like. I talk to people and some people think like it's all just like, oh, it's like, especially like free jazz. It's like, oh, it's all free, or like it's all like
Improv.
They're just like improv, but there's like a very strict, especially with certain kinds of jazz. There's a very strict. It's almost like mathematics to a degree. Like John Coltrane, who was like hailed as like this avant-garde, like everything came from the spiritual realm. That guy practiced hard. He wrote all this shit down. He like did all these patterns. He had like literally like it was math. It was math. It was a science that he studied. Charlie Parker is another great saxophonist. Like
so
those
when he's
guys,
writing down that, is it in like the sense of musical notes?
yeah, those guys knew how to. They understood. Some of them didn't know.
So
how
like
to
instead
read.
of numbers, it's musical like notes.
Some of them know new theory. Some of them did like music notation. Like a lot of jazz people, like cats got like, and there are jazz people who do everything by ear and do everything kind of free. But a lot of like the big ones did know how to read, knew a lot of theory, like really studious. And even like the guys who did like boom boom boom, like just free jazz, like Cecil Taylor, like those guys were like classically trained. Like those guys were like on a whole other level. So it's
I can't even imagine.
yeah, it's just an interesting thing that like it somehow got the reputation of being like this very like, and there is like jazz is like one of those things. It's like rock. Like when you say someone, I listen to rock music, well, like that's a whole like people like Buddy Holly or like
Right.
Five Finger Death Punch. Like
Right,
what's the,
right.
like that range? Same thing with jazz, really any genre. But anyway, back to first. My first live show was jazz. When it came to like house shows, one of my first house shows I remember was the Murray Attic,
Sure. Yeah.
which I later on got to live and actually got to host shows. But it was my first. It was my first like house like party, not party, but like house show.
Yep. When was
And
Anthony there?
Anthony was there.
Shout out
and
Anthony.
Pineapple Migraine played. That's where I first met Joe.
Dude.
That's the first time I met Joe, and I was so intimidated by like this was before Dog, but I was so.
Did you just hear about it?
Yeah, I just
someone?
heard about it through I knew like Josh Tremble, who's the guitarist. Shout out to Josh. He's like one of my main.
I hear his name everywhere.
Oh, he's playing this Friday.
I saw his name on a flyer. Who's on that bill?
If you're free Friday, I forgot the top of my head. I think
Christian Porter's
playing. Yep, Pocket Change and another band I didn't recognize, but
okay.
if you're free, you should go. But anyway,
What day is that?
Friday.
Okay.
This Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am free.
We should do it. Anyway, I digress. This when you're watching this is gonna be the future. So
Yeah, right.
But anyway, excuse me. What was I saying? Oh, house shows. Yeah, I was really intimidated when I first like stepped in the house. Like I really wanted to be in a band.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really get into this earlier, but like one of the big reasons why I picked up guitar in the first place was to like find social belonging, and like it was a very like, and I'm sure it's like common for like a lot of people, but for me that was like a big reason. So like going into this space and like I just wanted to try to find like people to like have a sense of home and have a sense of like tight friends, and I came into this space and I saw.
Was this
like,
your freshman year of college?
Yes, yeah, freshman year.
2016?
2017, yeah.
Okay.
And I remember going to that house show with Pineapple Migraine, and they were just killing it. And I was like,
Fuck
oh
yeah.
wow, like I want to like do that. And now it's crazy looking back, because now I'm in a band with
Yeah,
Joe,
yeah, right,
and
dude.
we're
That was
making
the
music.
first house show band you saw.
We're making music together, and then like once Dog Bad started really picking up, that was just like that. It's like because the thing with bands that people like musicians and like audience members, I think, um, should understand is like every band you see is a miracle, because you have to find people who have the same availability. That's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
People who are into the same kind of music, and also people who are like all relatively good hang.
Yep.
You have to meet all those three conditions,
Mm-hmm.
and then you might have a live show. You might have a show,
Yeah.
like
And then you might record some music.
so like
yeah.
that's the thing. Like every band I listen to, even if like the band's like whether they're like having a rough set for whatever reason. I've had rough sets
Totally.
like for whatever reason. I'm always like it's always still a really cool thing to see people come. I keep doing that.
Oh, you're chilling. It's a short chord.
It's always great to see people come together and make music, and like at whatever level.
Yeah.
Like I don't care. It's like it's cool. It's awesome.
Totally.
Like I love being part of it, listening to it. So that's always been another thing that I've always like kind of like, yeah, it's just cool. So,
Totally.
yeah.
So,
So
like,
the
what-
reason. Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
I just
go
want to finish
ahead.
my thought with
Yeah.
with Dog Bad. The thing that was amazing about Dog Bad, it was like all that happened, like literally, like, how I met Carter was.
Yeah, say it.
I met Carter because we were at what was that the residence hall, Cambridge Halls.
Yeah.
He was playing guitar in like the courtyard, and I heard him and he was singing, and I really liked it. And I like just went up to him and said, "Hey, I like your stuff. Like I like your music. We should jam." In high school, I would have never done that. I would have never gone up to a stranger. But music, like just that music, really like opened me up and like got me doing stuff like that. And
Yep.
later on shows, and like we talked about like earlier about getting connections to shows, like that's like a big. I owe a lot of my success to like just random like encounters and just starting conversations
Putting yourself out
like
there.
that. Yeah. So I met Carter through that. AJ, drummer, he was in the UREWM, which is like a research program.
Okay.
So I was like the staff or like the guide or whatever for that program.
Yep.
And he was like in the program.
I heard he's living with you again.
Yep,
Right?
AJ's living with me again.
Dude.
Yeah,
I
AJ's,
saw him
yeah.
at the Lindemann show
Yeah.
he just played.
Shout out to AJ, and
He's in
he's drumming in
Spoy.
Spoy now. Are you gonna get? Have you had the Spoy? Anybody in Spoy on yet, or
Not
you
yet.
Going
Not
to?
yet.
Yeah.
Probably Harry or even.
Ooh, I can't wait to listen to that.
AJ,
Yeah.
Jack.
But yeah, and then Ellen was also just perfect timing, because Ellen was through like a mutual friend, and we literally just bonded over our love for Radiohead, and
Yeah,
just like
Yeah.
just like, oh, you're into this band, I'm into this band too. And then she was like, oh, by the way, I play bass, and I was like, oh, everything came together. And then Nick later on, the keyboardist, Nick was another one who like I met. Dog Bad for a long time didn't have a keyboardist, and then we were. I met him at a Murray Attic show. Nick's a character.
Oh my God, he's so dope.
so fun. And then
It was a good time.
yeah, and then one thing led to another, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I play keyboards. I'm great at keys." I don't think he said it himself, but he's great at keyboards. He's a great
Yeah.
keyboard player, and it all just kind of came together. And then okay, now we have a band.
Yeah.
And it was a really great group, and we learned a lot, but like there's a lot of growth. But I think from the get go, like it just like took off, because again, those three conditions: our availability for the most part worked, good hang, great musicians who just all happened to be playing, what we needed. So,
And when your live shows kicked ass, dude. I remember
you.
seeing y'all. I forget the first time I saw Dog Bad. I think it was at Cactus Club, maybe.
ooh,
Summer of 2019. No,
Yeah,
I might have
maybe.
seen you before that at a house show or something.
yeah.
But man, you guys were always such a good show.
Well, thank you.
Such
Thank
a
you.
good show.
Yeah, I take a lot of pride in a lot of the stuff we did, especially with
As
the
you
live,
should,
especially
man.
with the live shows.
Yeah,
with
you
the
affected it a
band.
lot. You've like Dog Bad inspired me to like
Dang.
to get out and like start a band and do music to show like what's even possible. And even just people in that whole area, like era of like college, kind of like a lot of people know dog bad.
Yeah, so going back to the question that spawned all this, what the scene was like
Yeah.
before COVID.
Dude, y'all blew up so fast or grew
Eh,
up, like, because you did, like, the
I think
88.9 radio show.
yeah.
I remember seeing videos when you first started jamming in that garage.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing those videos and be like, oh, shit, this is dope. And
It's
then you're on the 88.9. I remember watching that show, the live stream.
yeah, Milwaukee. There's a great. I think there's a lot of different indie, jazz, punk, and for me it's like I hear from some people that like say like the scene like especially like in jazz, some people I'll overhear times like, oh, like the scene is like dead, or it's like it's not what it used to be. Well, I didn't have that context. I came from like absolutely nothing to like this, and it was amazing to me. So like I'm always just like glad to be part of the ride. So that's my input in like as far as like what I think the scene, as far as like compared to now. I think I think COVID in a way definitely like made people really, I think it's been said before, but made people really appreciative of live performance. And I went to one house show. The only house show I went to after COVID was with, I think, were you playing? It was with Scam Likely. I can't remember. Was it Bug Moment? It was a basement show. Maybe Jacob Slade was playing. I can't remember.
Was it the Washroom on Prospect?
Maybe. I can't remember. I just remember it being really, really crowded, and really, really fun. There was like a lot of good bands, and it was like, oh, like wow, like people are still going to shows. That's awesome.
Was it like right after COVID kind of hit?
I think it was a while after.
Yeah,
might have been after the house show that we
was
played.
it after the one
maybe.
we did?
Yeah,
I remember that one was like one of the first
kind of
house shows back, which was fucking gnarly. That place was stuffed, had its own atmosphere. Yeah. I was just looking through videos when I was trying to find that Estabrook video. I had another video on my phone where I'm walking through the next day because I left some speakers downstairs, and it's just like puddles of like either condensation, sweat, and like I stepped in one. I was like, oh. So gnarly.
Yeah, at this point, like I value my sleep a lot, so I rarely go to like house shows now or like super late shows because I'm just finding the balance of like teaching and and especially with teaching in the morning sometimes, like
especially being your own well, I guess it's if you have a job, but you are
I would love to go to a house show again.
We got some booked for spring.
Really okay. Yeah, I know Diet Light has a house show coming up. I don't think I'll be able to make it.
That is. I think that's Friday.
Is that Friday as well?
Yeah, I think it was at North Warren, maybe Diet Light. And
shout out to those bands.
I think Spoy's on that bill.
Yep. Spoy's on that bill.
I haven't seen Spoy in a minute. The house shows are so fun. After the so if you're watching this, I'll probably post this on like Thursday. I'll try to get this out by tomorrow. But if you're watching this, please come to our show on Saturday at the Collectivo Backroom.
7:30 p.m.
So is it 7? We'll just say 7:30.
I think it's 7:30. It's officially 7:30. Yeah.
Okay. Because Joe told me that they put it on the website, and then
it was 8. Yeah, it was 8:00 on all the things, but it's gonna be 7:30.
So we'll push like crazy this next few days of like 7:30 start time. Okay, perfect.
So if you're listening to this right now and it's 7:35, get moving.
Go. Get to the show. Yeah, man, I'm really excited. Do you guys have well, for more context, we are playing at the Collectivo Backroom, and it's one of my favorite venues ever. The sound is so good, and there's lots of plants everywhere, and it's a really comfy venue. Where are your next shows after this?
So,
like what I've heard rumors. I think
rumors.
Eli might have said something on the last podcast about something.
Maybe, perhaps. Yeah, there is. What are the rumors? What have you heard? Are these? Oh, I see. Yeah, we're working on an album.
Oh, okay.
We'll tentatively an album. It might become something, but we're working on new music.
Yeah, badass.
For sure.
Okay.
We're working, and we're actually. I think we posted about this too, so I don't think it's that like we're this is the last show of the year, this backroom show, and then we'll probably maybe do like. I don't want to say like we'll do a show like not as frequently as we have in the past because we're gonna be really focusing on writing recording band stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell
I like
yeah.
hitting this tape.
Yeah.
By the way,
Writing,
for
recording,
the
band
viewers, for those who are continuing to listen, amazing. I just want you to appreciate the setup that Parker has set up here with the finger puppets, and
Thank you.
it's great. Yeah.
This is the new setup I was just telling Isaac. Is if you're a long time watcher or first time watcher, this is an old record player I found at work in pretty much the trash.
Yeah. I didn't even notice the record player. I was so fixated on the
Don't
finger
get
puppets.
too excited. It doesn't work, but it just looks really cool
does look
as
cool.
a table piece.
That
And I
is
was looking
nice.
for, because I used that dino thing you were looking at earlier as like a backdrop. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of cool, but not what I'm like super going for. Maybe switch it up. So
Yeah.
super stoked to have this in the monitor.
Beautiful.
If we ever have to like bring anything up, I can just bring it up here.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
fancy.
Fancy.
Upgrading.
Yeah. What's the next plans for Social Sig?
Dude.
What do you got on the horizon?
Booking a lot of shows for spring at the moment.
Hell yeah. Y'all keep it up, because I saw y'all at the Cactus Club that last show, and that was honest, like that was a crazy good show.
Thank you, man. That show was I will say like top 2 or 3.
Shout out to you. Shout out to Kai. Shout out to Austin on bass. He's killing it on bass. Shout out to Jacob Slade on the guitar.
Thank you.
That
show was
that's
so fun, man. It was stoked you were there.
Yeah.
It's like especially like opening up a show, you never know like what the energy is gonna be like, and people just came like ready to roll. So that was really sweet. That was really sweet. But yeah, man, just staying busy, kind of like tentatively writing some new songs. My creative process is really just like same as it's always been, just like writing songs and bringing them to the band, and then just kind of like jamming through them a little bit.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing I want to work on at some point, because I'm good at a lot of technical stuff, theory, like just through being full-time music, I have to learn a lot of songs fast, so a lot of things I pick up on are like the theory and all that is like helps with that, like building my ear and all that. The thing I have a grave weakness on is like songwriting and like lyrics. I remember I wrote one song for Dog Band I wrote lyrics for, and it was like, it's pretty like I remember Carter was like, I don't know if I want to I don't know if he like explicitly said that, but I could easily want to say, because like,
it's hard to say that too without
and,
for me feeling like,
but it really goes down, like, because I think there's like some people like in the jazz world, or like in other musical spheres, might criticize other people. Like they might say, oh, like this is not technical music, like this is just like the same 2 chords over and over. But there is like, it's like, okay, like you're saying that, but like, can you write like a melody that like people are gonna sing back, or can you write something catchy? Can you write something really simple and beautiful? That's the thing I love with like playing bass in Social Sig, because like a lot, like it was pretty simple. It's simple songs, 2 chord, 3 chord songs, a lot of them with the same patterns. But the challenge was for me how I approached my role in the band. I think this is something Austin's doing really, really well just through listening to him. Is it's not so much about like the complexity; it's about like, can you find the part? I think it's hard to like find like the bass line that's gonna work with this song. My approach has always been to like, if there were to be a Social Sig cover band, if there were to be a Moonglow cover band, I want to play a part that they have to play. They can't bullshit it. They can't just like, they have to play that part because it's so integral to the song.
piece.
That's how I always like approach writing parts, and like I strive for that, because that's when you have something really tight and really, because in the world of jazz you can, and kind of inherently in the improvisational nature of it, but you can like not really think about that, and but in like the pop world, in pop, indie, and in that sphere, you really have to think about that stuff. One of my like biggest inspirations is a group called the Wrecking Crew. Have you heard of the Wrecking Crew before? And for those of you at home, you haven't heard the name, but you've definitely heard their music.
Sure.
The Wrecking Crew were a group of session musicians who were based in LA in like the 60s and 70s. So they weren't like an official band.
Okay.
They were kind of like a top secret band. What they would do is they would be in these studios and like people would come in and be like, okay, we need a music for a shampoo commercial. We need a song for Nancy Sinatra. We have the Beach Boys here. They need a song. Literally every day would be like they would have like 8 things like that. Wow. And those musicians, like, first of all, they were very technically, like, they were the best of the best.
Whoa.
Like Barney Kessel was one of the members, and he's like known as a great jazz guitarist, but he was also a member of the Wrecking Crew. And I think his name was Teddy Tedesco. I might be butchering the name. If you look, he is the most recorded guitarist in all of history. And what those musicians specialized in were like writing parts. Yeah, are you looking it up right now?
Yeah, I'm looking up.
Is it Teddy Tedesco?
There's a movie.
There is a movie, yeah. There is a movie about the Wrecking Crew, but literally, like most songs you can think of, like the Monkees. Oh, here we go. The Wrecking Crew. Yep. So Carol Kay, badass bass player, she wrote the bass line for a lot of
sick.
or like played the bass line in a lot of like Good Vibrations on like a lot of Beach Boys records. For some of these, yep, Tommy Tedesco. Like literally, like think of like any TV theme. Any like TV theme from like the 60s, 70s, like he was playing on it.
Wow.
Like you've heard like these players here, you've heard all of them.
They look like legends.
Multiple times.
Never heard of them before.
And exactly because in the record companies wouldn't put their names in the credits at all. They were it was a very secretive thing. In fact, there were bands, so the Monkees didn't like really write any of their music or play any of their music. They were essentially actors. Wow. They were hired because they looked good and could act, because they had like a TV show or something. And these guys like wrote their music, performed it to the point where when the Monkees went on tour, they couldn't really play. In fact, this is a great like roundabout. My guitar teacher Steve Peplin, I think he played a show with the Monkees on like a cruise ship. And I remember him telling me, like, he told me, like, those guys can't play.
Wow.
So there's, like, people who give...
Do you imagine living that lie almost?
Yeah, and there's a lot of instances of that. And this is, like, some people give, like, a lot of people, like, especially, like, boomers will give shit about, like, oh, these people don't write their own songs or they don't really write their own music. That's been going around.
Right.
For a long time.
Wow.
Yeah. So, like... They're definitely check out that documentary, and like the thing that's
there's
really,
a documentary about it.
Yeah, the documentary. Definitely check it out.
What's it on? You know,
I don't know. I think it's on. You can find it on YouTube. That's where I watched it.
Oh, sweet.
But it's really inspirational because those are people like who were technically like very, very, very good, but they also understood like what it means to create a meaningful song, regardless of how simple it is. So I think there's always something like like the indie or like the songwriter can learn more theory, can learn more stuff to like flesh out their songs or do more. But I think a lot of like people who know a lot of theory can also learn a lot from indie. It's on my list. I'm doing a lot of jazz right now. I'm putting a lot of my time in jazz, but I'm gonna learn country. I'm gonna learn country songs.
Oh, dude, so sick!
Get
a steel pedal.
Yeah, they're pedal steel. Oh. Yeah, more so. I want to definitely contribute time to just writing songs.
Yeah.
Sing acoustic, simple chords, lyrics.
Yeah, and I think writing songs with a simple chord progression is
hard.
Wow.
What were you gonna say?
I don't even know what I was gonna say.
For me, it's
it
hard,
sounded like I was about to say easy, but that's for me to say.
Well, I mean, you've been doing it for
that's true.
For
and that, like around the time when I started to play around shows and stuff, I was so like insecure about not being super technical with my musical abilities. And it's really just come in like the last 2-3 years here where I'm just like, fuck that. Like I'm doing my thing and like I'm having a good time. And a big part of it too is just like, I don't think too much about it, which I like. Like if I'm playing a chord progression, I can just play it and then just belt some shit out that like comes from a really deep place. Yeah. And I like it and people fuck with it. So nothing wrong with that. Also nothing wrong with like doing technical shit too.
Yeah. At the essence, it's all about just like, what's your sound? what's your message, and then like what do you need to bring that across. And sometimes it might require a lot of technical knowledge, sometimes it doesn't. And there's no, I don't hold any more value. You know, I my first musical inspirations was like the Guitar Hero soundtrack.
Yeah,
a lot of punk rock, a lot of like
that's right.
a lot of music that was a lot of that music was made in like kind of response to like, you know, like complicated like or like you know, music that like had like kind of like had an academic tinge to it. Like classical music kind of had that, and like jazz also started kind of getting that a little bit once it became kind of academic. And then there were people who were just like, fuck it, like I want to be able to like, you know, make statements and do things even if I don't necessarily know a lot.
Weren't the Ramones
like,
pretty big part of that?
Yeah,
they made so many simple songs.
The Ramones, or like I even think of like the Riot Girl movement.
What's that?
That was like I'll try my best to explain it, but it in general it was like this. I think it was like in the 90s. I think it was Seattle, where you know, there were like a lot of punk bands. There were like punk has been going on for a while, but it was mostly male dominated, and the Riot Girl movement was basically like, and also like there was like a lot of, you know, like sexism and like things and like those scenes that were prevalent. And the Riot Girl movement was like basically like, fuck it, I want to like make music and have my own voice and like have my own audience. And they like just, and they did it. And they and there were like examples of like zines, magazines, where like literally like the first page was like, here's how to play a power chord. So you could literally pick up an instrument for the first time and start playing songs, punk songs, and you could, now there you go, you have the voice. You don't have to know theory. You don't have to go to a teacher.
Literally, it made it accessible to the average human.
Exactly, accessibility, I think, is a big part of that. And then that led down the line to a whole all new voices and kinds of music that fed into things that already existed, and it's just this whole cycle of creation. That's at least how I like perceive a lot of music, as like, is like, because like when I listen to jazz, and if you like look into like the history of like jazz musicians, how jazz went from like early New Orleans to like the swing age to bebop, and then when rock and roll came around and quote unquote kill jazz, but not really. I don't like saying things are dead. I don't think things are ever dead. Things like get less popular, sure, but nothing ever really dies. But once rock and roll came around, and then how that eventually evolved into like funk, and then hip hop came along when it's sampled. That it's all connected. Like when I listen to certain jazz solos, I can hear like metal, I can hear hip hop, I can hear these things that stem, because all music we listen to, like, nothing comes from a vacuum. There's this, I think, this myth among some songwriters or some things, like it's like everything has to come really within. But I think that's just like factually like just like impossible. Like you've listened to music, and either you like listen to something like, oh, I want to emulate that, or you listen to something and you're like, I hate that, I want to do the exact opposite. It's still influence.
That's true.
There's still a factor of influence. So for me, as like where my, you know, I was working, I'm playing all kinds of music out of necessity to, you know, do different gigs to make money to survive. I have to learn a lot of different music, and for me, it's like the more I can see those links and the more I can connect, the better.
Right.
Like I don't see like playing hip hop gig or a country gig no more than different than an R&B gig. There's still these through lines, different emphasis on different parts of the music for sure.
Right.
But there's this through line that
like
you can
melodies
see.
And
melodies, timbre, rhythm.
Yeah.
Where
do you think music is gonna go in like the next 20 years?
I don't know, and I want to keep it that way. I think it's easy. It's really easy to like look back at like certain periods of music and be like, oh, like this and this happened, and this was about this, and this is like how people like perceive this. But like this is our hindsight of like 100+ years of like considering like, you know, modern music. But like in the like a lot of these artists and a lot of these bands, like may not have been like really prevalent, or like the only people who knew about those musicians were like other musicians, but now they're
Right.
more household names. So
Yeah, that is
I do
interesting.
make an effort to listen to like modern music, whether it's like stuff in the top 50 or it's like brand new band that's kind of underground, just to see like what's out there.
Sure.
I think with like the especially like the internet
I was
and
gonna
how and
say.
I think how people consume music definitely influence, um maybe not, I guess, the music itself, but also like when I think of like the 90s, you think of grunge. When you think of the 80s, you think of glam rock. When you think
Yep.
of 60s, you think of hippies and psychedelic music.
Sure.
And like each decade kind of had its own like fads and like things that were very identifiable that you
Yep.
look back. When you think of like 2000s, 2010s, what comes to mind? A lot of stuff.
Lot of
For me, it's
stuff,
like a lot of
man.
different. And I think a big part of that is like, well, that's around the time when the internet came, and it became less about like companies big, like the big four record companies determining like what was big and what were the trends. Now it's like everything could be a trend.
Totally.
Everyone can find their own niches and like and listen to like Japanese city pop or like
Yep.
whatever, like Norwegian death metal. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like everyone can find their own sound. So I think there's less of a cohesive overall music culture, or like pop culture, I think.
I think
But I
people's.
think that's sort of I think in my at least how I think of it, I think it's better because now it's
Yeah.
like you can like,
You're turned on to so many more things. Like
yeah,
people's sense of like music taste
yeah,
is so broad now.
and people
Just sick.
can now there's like more prevalent independent artists.
Yep.
And like you don't need, I think that's a huge, at least from exploring and listening, learning about music history, like it is crazy how like big, like how influential it was like being signed, and like those record companies were on like just
Yeah.
like music trends as a whole and as art as a whole. We like try like, I think like artists, and including myself, want to kind of like take the money and take the business out of it. But like one thing, like for instance, the concept of genres only exist because we're like trying to sell the music. Like we're
Were
trying
you
like,
the one that told me that?
I think I might have like it is something I think
I've always had that stuck in
Steve
my head.
Peplin talked about. But it's like when you really think about it, it's kind of true.
Yeah.
Like the only reason why is like because like I want jazz music at this event to provide this ambiance so I can make money at my restaurant.
Sure.
But I need to know like what jazz music is.
Right.
So here's what jazz music is, at least in this commercial term, and that's for like any genre, like to just sell it, to give people an idea of like, what is this? Is this
Right.
something? Because like any other product is not going to function like that. You can't be like, oh, this is like its own thing. You have to like
You
tell
gotta put
people
a
like what it
label on
is.
it.
Yeah, a label on it.
Totally.
So that's where I'm not too crazy about like what's rock, what's not rock, what's jazz, what's not jazz. When it comes to like as an artist, when it comes to me being a working musician, that's important for me to know. I
Right.
need to know the distinctions and the language. Like if I'm gonna play a blues gig, I can't be doing metal lines. I have to have a certain guitar tone. I have to have a certain type of guitar to fit that image.
Right.
And so to some people that might be like kind of constraining or like, but for me, I think for me it's kind of fun finding like that voice, and it's a good challenge to like do that.
Yeah.
for
Broadens your
me.
horizons, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Makes you more well rounded because I only know how to do my one thing.
Yeah.
Which is cool too.
Yeah. And there's
That's so sick.
there's a whole process, a separate process, and like thing to that. That's where I make the distinction of artists and working musicians.
So as like an
It's like-
artist, like what is your you said you kind of want to songwrite and stuff. Like do you foresee like a solo project in mind, or do you think you can get a pretty good like expression in Moonglow at the moment?
I do like. I think I think for me personally, I'm always expressing myself, even if I'm playing like background music or like just like or like at a wedding where I'm just playing chords. Like I like that's my expression. Like when I play through my instrument, like especially with in music where I improvise. There's always room for like
Totally.
self-expression. I view that as like, this is how I sound. This is what I want. This is like my voice. I think when it comes to songwriting, it's the same thing, but just a little slightly different hat, I guess you can think of it. Like
Sure.
it's just a
Playing a part.
different approach. Something that I don't do a lot. It's not a medium I express myself a lot through with like lyrics. I'm really bad with memorizing
Really?
lyrics. But
Mm,
there are certain lyrics that do stick out to me, especially like
gotcha.
in rap. I remember like Notorious B.I.G. was when I first
Sure.
you know,
Sure.
kind of a weird first artist, but that's when I first really started paying attention to lyrics. Elliott Smith is also another
Mm,
artist whose lyrics for some reason stick with me,
sure.
and that's always fascinated me with like why do these lyrics stick
Right.
in particular, and there's something that resonates there, and that's something I kind of want to explore and see like,
Yeah,
oh, could
totally.
I because I think if I learn how to, and for me as an artist it would be a fun experiment. As a working musician, the benefit of that is like if I understand the process of writing lyrics and songwriting, I can better write parts that support that, or
Uh,
like or like just songwriting in general. Because I also think about like form, like bridges, and like do we really need like a third verse, or like decisions like that are also things that I make kind of with Moonglow.
mm.
Um, is like stuff like that. So that's where that can probably
Yeah.
help
And I
me.
think with like songwriting, there is no formula for every person. Like every person has a different way to approach it.
There are everyone has a different approach. I would say if you're a songwriter and if you're in a rut, like if you're in a creative rut, I highly recommend like always like just learn songs, study the structure. There was a one songwriter, I forget who, but he like did a whole thing where he like just studied Bob Dylan songs and like look at like the meter of it, and
Sure.
like and just studied about, and like you can literally, I've done this with some Moonglow songs where I'll take a song and I'll take the parts, like okay, this song starts with the guitar riff and
Sure.
then this verse and chorus and bridge, and then there's this weird thing, and then I'll take the form, like the form is the song, but then I'll throw in my own.
Whatever
So I
kind of
always,
chords.
with music, like I always have a template. I either like I don't start anything from scratch. I know some people do start from scratch, but like I
Uh-huh.
always like have like kind of a song reference
Sure.
in mind, and then just through the process of like, oh, like my ear, like, oh, like I hear this going to this, then it becomes like my own thing.
Right.
And especially with like the writing crew and like those like session musicians who like their whole thing was like they're made their living writing song after song after song. there is like there is a formula to it that works. There are certain expectations that people have with music, like when they hear, like they expect certain things to happen, and if you understand that as a songwriter, you can use that to make, I just want to make like a very straightforward song that has a straightforward message, and I want to just get to the listener. You can use that knowledge to help me write those songs. Or if you want to be a rule breaker, you got to learn the rules first. If you want to make a song that like defies expectation, know what songs have done in the past and then flip it, do something different. So
Yeah.
again, going back to this, I don't think anything comes from a vacuum. I think there's always value in looking at other people's work, and don't feel like you always have to do that. You can still
Uh-huh.
get value from understanding how it works and then doing something completely opposite. But in
Totally.
order to do that, you need to know how it works first.
Yeah.
That's a big thing with like jazz improvisation, is like there's a lot of free stuff and like rules you can break and things you
Right.
can do, and that's the thing I find beautiful about that genre. But there's a deep like tradition and like certain things that are come to be expected
Yeah.
that actually can change from city to city depending on
Oh,
scene. Certain
sure.
certain songs
Yeah.
are played certain ways in different. It's like it comes down to geography with like
Uh-huh.
a lot of different genres. Literally has to do with the fact that like I talked about the Wrecking Crew and they were LA based. There's another group in the Muscle Shoals group, same kind of situation where it was like the same band group of musicians that played on
Uh-huh.
like all the records, like Aretha Franklin or like the Motown, like the Funk Brothers. That's like probably the most famous example, where it's like same musicians on all these different records, all these different artists. So if you study those musicians in particular, you'll know how to play like a large amount of discography.
Right.
It's those session musicians. So
So
yeah, but they're not
one
a lot of
thing
people
that
know
I'm
about them.
thinking about, like when you're explaining the structures of songs and like
Hmm.
I I feel my knowledge of music is really, really surface level. I really think it is. Like, whether I know it or not, I think a lot of the time when I write songs, I don't look super deep into it. I literally just go off of a feeling. It doesn't come out of a vacuum. I agree with that. Like, it comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. You know.
I think the thing is like you can like study, like consciously study it. You don't have to. I don't think.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of famous artists who like didn't do that. I think the thing is like you know the music you listen to and like the stuff like you've listened to as a child, like it comes into that.
Totally.
So
no, I agree. I was just kind of thinking
and
that.
I think I think it's more so like, you know, if you're like making songs and if it's resonating with you, and then you're good to go. You don't need to change your process. If you're ever at a point where like I was at a point where like the stuff I was playing, stuff I was writing was kind of like I was just very indifferent about it. That's when I started like, okay, I'm just gonna learn a bunch of other songs. I'm gonna learn music that's like beautiful to me.
Sure.
Like stuff that like really emotionally impacts me, and I'm gonna study it. I'm gonna learn like how it works.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, I have all these cool things I can experiment with and try. And
so I think at the end of the day, I think you're doing a better, more efficient way. I think I'm just doing whatever the fuck I feel like doing. It's just like, it would be super cool to like dive deep and down to dissect stuff. And that sounds really interesting. I just don't feel
I would recommend, I think a good place to start is like pick your favorite album and learn all the songs on just that album. Like stay with one thing for a little while. For me, it's like I listened to just like nothing but jazz music. There was a time where I listened to nothing but Green Day music. When I was like really into Green Day, and I got really good at power chords and all that. And
I think that helps me keep a consistent sound in a weird way, because I only know a certain amount of. I haven't learned like mostly because I haven't had time or sat myself down to learn new stuff. But I know it's the same major 7 chords, and we were jamming the same bar chords, just different shit that I like slap my like index finger a weird way and just like kind of fucking around like blindly. It just feels good.
Yeah, but there's those chords have a lot of mileage. I mean, they've been used in all genres, you know. I mean, and then there's, not to mention, like, maybe you have the same chords for a lot of the songs, but what about rhythm? What about timbre is like the thing that like I think is being really explored now in the modern age of music. Timbre being
timbre.
Excuse me.
Do you need another beer, by the way? Are you good?
I'll take a water.
Take a water? Okay.
Water. But I was like, are you gonna like edit this? Or is this
live? If you want to keep talking, it'll take me 10 seconds.
I'll keep talking. I'll explain timbre. Yeah. But anyway, for those folks of you at home listening while Parker is so kind to give me a water, timbre is like describes like the quality or the color of the sound. So like imagine like you playing like Master of Puppets. You can play it with the same rhythm and the same notes, but it's going to sound very different if you play it on an electric guitar with distortion versus a guitar with tuba. That's like an extreme example of timbre. There's more subtle versions of timbre. For instance, like think about like when you play guitar on acoustic guitar, try playing the strings by the sound hole and then try playing it by the bridge. You get a very different sound.
Got you.
So it can get as subtle as that. Now, when we talk about timbre, I'm thinking about like electronic music. Like electronic music has like pretty simple harmonies, simple rhythms, but like the soundscapes we can explore now, like the different sounds you can get. That's what's really being explored now, I think.
Sure. Okay. So going back to like what you think.
I think of hyperpop. I know is like the most recent musical development I can think of. I'm gonna get some water here, but stay hydrated, folks. I was talking a lot. I haven't talked this much in a while.
Oh, you're good.
It's nice.
I'm listening. It's nice too because I'm basically over my sickness. Just still have like a little congestion. But yesterday and today, my energy levels were so much better than they were for the last week and a half. Man, I'm
same here. I was a little sick too earlier.
Yeah.
I think everyone got
after Thanksgiving, man. I was talking to Jacob Slade. It's literally right after Thanksgiving Me and him were both sick, and we weren't around on Thanksgiving, but that next weekend we were. But like literally, we were both sick the same amount of time.
Yeah.
Anyways,
But yeah, so you might have a lot of songs that are the same harmony, but like there's so many other aspects of music you can explore besides just notes. Notes is
Right.
like one fraction of it.
and I think it's interesting too because you can have a 2 chord progression, but then like having a lead guitar and bass, like what those do on top of that,
Yeah.
can really make a song.
Yeah, that's
stick
a whole
out.
another dimension. Like when you have multiple instruments, like how they interact with each other. That's like a whole world.
And then the way your voice is, I think, like the sound
Yep.
of your voice
So that
is
would be
something
like
that's
that would be
unique
like
to you.
that would be like a timbre thing. Voice is like a timbre thing. My sister will not listen to any music that doesn't have a voice with it. And I used to be like very like
Interesting.
yeah. I like I used to I would give her shit for it, and I still kind of do. But I
You should.
understand.
That's
I
funny.
understand that like certain people like some people just don't like the sound of distorted guitar. I have students who just don't guitar students who don't like rock music.
Sure.
Don't like distorted guitar at all. And I can't. And that's just like that's a timbre thing, and it's just like it's all based on like what we grew up listening to and like
Totally.
what's our like. But I definitely I with that I encourage people to push their buttons a little and like explore things that are like just different, like whether things are harmonically different, whether things are like rhythmically very different, or like things just with sounds that you're just like
Yeah.
not used to.
It would definitely make you
Like-
more well versed. Speaking
Yeah.
with you, I think for me, I think that would
I
help
think
a lot.
a good exercise, like I do with my students, especially for students who like don't have a particular style of music or like thing they like really like, we'll do like a lot of listening. Because I think like with music, it's like if you like enjoy the music, you're gonna make way more progress.
Yep.
So for some of the students that don't have like a genre of music they like, or they can't like name songs they want to learn, we'll do some listening. And some teachers might have the approach of like, you're gonna like the Beatles and no one
Sure,
else, like they'll
right.
force feed.
That's
Like,
the only practice book we have that's rock and roll.
I used to be like that with my like musical taste, not teaching, but like I'd be like you have to like Radiohead, they're the greatest band ever. But now I'm like, after like having to like experience like learn a lot of different music, and the more I listen,
That was gross.
different times. I was doing this-
We were like
I was doing this. I'm fighting like a.
I know my nose is like clogged up right now. I need to blow it. But
But,
keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. But now it's like now like what I'll do is I'll have students listen to music, and it can be anything from Frank Sinatra to Taylor Swift
Yup.
to like weird experiment. Like I'll just throw something at them and just see how they react, and they'll either like it or dislike it. I don't deal with any of this shit.
Sure,
You either
yeah.
like it or you don't like it, and if they don't like it or like it, whichever they go, I ask them like, why? Can you name like a specific
Ooh, that's good.
thing? And I think it's good for like people that are like, especially like musicians, to do that on their own. Like take the time, find music you hate, and think about like why you don't like
Yeah.
it, and put it into words. Like, is it the harmony? Is the harmony too simple? Is it the timbre? Is it like a quality? I always boil it down to kind of those three things for me. Or is it like the rhythm? Is it rhythmically boring?
Sure.
When you think about like why people like certain genres, it's because of they have an affinity for one of those things. People who love classical music, like that's rich in harmony, rich in like rhythm. Maybe the timbre is like it has a very specific
Can you
quality
spell
of
the
those
word
things.
timbre?
Timbre.
T-I-
I hope I've been pronouncing this right.
I've seen that
like
on
the
sheets
timbre
of
of your
music.
voice.
Timber, like
T-
timber.
It's
But it's pronounced
the
timbre.
BRE.
Oh,
Timbre.
B-R-E.
B-R-E.
Oh, timbre.
If
Timbre,
if
okay.
I've been pronouncing it wrong, can you like go in and like edit every time I say it?
Yeah.
That'll give you a lot of work, but it'll be worth.
Totally.
I need to look smart. You need to edit this to
Yeah,
make me look like a genius. Any mistakes
It's
I
gonna
make,
just zoom in on your face every time you say that word.
yeah,
And then
it's just gonna like just a
the text.
text to speech.
Timbre.
But anyway, yeah, and it's that's something I did with like certain genres, and I did with my students, and it's really revealing.
Yeah.
And for me now it's like, because I'm learning a lot of different styles of music to play different gigs. And again, to just going back to just like finding work. I have to play a lot of different musics, and I just find I enjoy it, even if it's like music I don't like. I can always find something, some aspect of it that I do like that I can engage with, or if it's like I don't like the timbre of it, well, I'm just gonna really just go deep and just like really like at least make the effort to like capture that in my playing. Like
Totally. You're doing like the best job that you like, the best work or profession that you could be doing to like kind of expand your music knowledge that'll help you in the other kind of focus that you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of like ride or die at this point. Like this is like what I
Fucking doing it, man.
want to do, and
so sick.
And it's a lot of work, but I think yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but
Yeah.
I'm just
Shit, I forgot a question I was gonna ask you.
What time are time are we
it's 9:50.
how long have we been talking?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that. Let me see the time. Hour 30.
Hour. Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can wrap it up soon if you want.
Did you have any other specific questions? Or I'm trying to think of.
I know this came up so fast, and I was like, just
This was
recovering. I think we talked about a lot of
yeah,
stuff.
this was fun.
Mostly just wanted to talk about like your experience with Dog Bed, also, and then just like overall the scene. Like, do you remember, like, other than Pineapple Migraine, like there's Fellow Kinsman's been around for a minute.
Fellow Kismet, which I've also played with.
Yes.
Bass for, which was shout out to Nate. That's another band.
Dude, they're so good.
Another group where I learned a lot from Nate. And it's funny how I met Nate. He hit his guitar on my head like at a Murray Attic show.
Oh, nice, dude.
On accident, and we talked after, and that's another like just kind of like random encounter that's turned into a whole other opportunity that led to like my
that's awesome
first performance on 88.9 with him and playing with him.
Have you seen him live lately?
Oh yeah, I saw him with not Sleepy Gaucho.
Oh sure, yeah.
At it was his album release show.
Falcons,
Really good.
Man,
That's another like similar to you, where like he's gone through like so many iterations of like different people in the band, and I think now he's got like a great he's got the lineup.
Totally,
it's perfect. So I'm like super happy.
Dude,
super happy for him.
Did you see Will on the steel pedal? Am I saying that steel pedal?
Yes. Or lap steel.
Lap
too.
steel.
Yeah.
Jeez, what's a steel pedal? So yeah, the last show we did at the back room was the Fellow Kinsman was on, and they sound so good, man.
Yeah.
With the synth, Cleo on the bass.
Cleo is killing it.
God. And then fucking Will on the steel pedal. What is it? Lap pedal. Lap steel.
Steel lap pedal.
And it just came together so fun. Yeah. And the new album is fucking incredible. Mm-hmm. Fellow Kinsman. Trying to think who else.
Fellow Kinsman. Motel Breakfast. Was like the big one. Yeah. What was another?
Was like, I know there's an Abby Jean that might be older than us, because I really want to try to figure out what the scene was, kind of like the house show scene, like were there shows going on. I'd love to talk to someone like maybe Anthony would have a good idea.
Yeah, maybe Anthony.
I see him around.
Christian Porter, because he hosted shows at Downer House. Oh, Sunken Sons, Tlaloc.
Sunken Sons,
huge.
Totally.
Those are the guys. Those are the guys that.
Dude, I have a Sunken Sun sticker on my fucking window.
Yeah. Speaking of, and we did shows here. Room 808. We did shows here with Sunken Suns. They were super influential as far as like just like because that's the cool thing with like a lot of people when they think of house shows, they think of like punk, indie. And I went to like a lot of shows that were like that. But then you had Pineapple Migraine and Sunken Sons doing this weird like jazz.
Never saw them.
And all.
I remember when Michaela Hoyer was doing a music video for them, like way back when.
Yeah, I remember they had they played a show here, and I forget the drum. I think the drummer's name is Tay, if I remember correctly, and he had a broken arm.
Oh shit!
And you would think like, oh shit, like he's got one arm. He's like, that's gonna be hard to play. But he was like,
oh, that's he was
like you couldn't even tell, and he was doing like crazy stuff. I have like recordings of.
Oh, that's gnarly.
I actually listened to a lot of recordings from like house shows I've been at, like just shit that's just like was like really cool, and I'm glad I recorded it.
Oh, just from like your phone? Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I have them on my
cool.
computer. I have some Pineapple Migraine
Damn.
shows.
That's cool as shit, man.
Josh solo show, Josh Trimple's
I
solo
remember a show
shows.
I saw here. I think I came too late that y'all played. I think you're on the bill that night. Kala was playing.
Call is another big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been doing it for album every year for a long time.
Dude,
and, like,
yeah, absolutely insane.
just like right, that's
that dude. Is he music full time?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I actually don't know.
I remember seeing like he's very.
If
he's got his brand
if
going
he's
on.
not, that's crazy that he's doing.
Oh yeah.
'Cause
I mean, if he's into
he's
something
got
else
enough
too,
music,
you know?
got enough music and got enough work and things where it's like he could be doing enough for like 2-3 people's
Yeah.
careers. But
Yeah.
he's doing So he's also a big
I feel
inspiration.
like I'm on the track to an album a year, as we are, but
yeah?
not on the same date. He drops it on the same
yeah.
date every year. But 2020, 2021, 22.
Yeah.
Who else is there? I want to like dive into the old Milwaukee. Like Golds. Do you know the band Golds?
I know that I've heard that band,
I remember them.
but I've never played shows or like
because I know they're from Milwaukee, but I don't know like
yeah.
what their
my
roots are.
My experience has been mostly within like that UW Milwaukee like
Yeah.
house show, might be a little bit Marquette
Right.
scene, and then you have like those like
I feel like Shell would know a good amount.
Yeah, Shell. We Immortal Girlfriend, who's this
Yeah, I remember.
electronic duo. They Kevin, who's one of the brothers in that duo, helped produce those first Dog Bad recordings, Close Shave, and the other Alligator Toast and Deja Vu. Yeah, and
Deja Vu was so good.
That was a fun
love that
experience recording with Kevin, and they've got great original music. I think one of their songs is actually on Wednesday, like that new Netflix series.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, they've got like they've gotten their songs out kind of like in
That's cool.
some cool places. So
Yeah.
they're doing great, and I really like as far as like electronic music, like their sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Kaylee Conway.
That name is
I hope
familiar.
I hope I'm pronouncing that way. I actually saw her perform way before. Like I think she was among like one of the first artists I saw. I saw her at Between Two Galleries or like one of the VAR galleries,
Sure,
art galleries. She's a phenomenal songwriter, and like she did like kind of like solo.
Conway. Do you
solo
know the
shows.
Dead Horses at all?
That's a name I've heard.
They just played at the Turner Hall over summer, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And they made an album, Brady Street, and they have a
Mhm.
good amount of monthly listeners and everything. And like, they seem a little bit older, and I'd be interested. It's like, what was the scene like before we
Like
were?
way like early.
Yeah, or
I'm
like
sure.
have a good idea of 'cause it feels really special right now. It really does, and I wonder if it's ever been the way, at least the scene we're in, like not in the. I don't know.
Yeah, I think.
Because you said something about the jazz scene not being.
Yeah, there's
Like it
there's-
used
there's-
to or
there's-
something?
Yeah, and I think that goes with every like iteration and every
Yeah.
like people are gonna have like these moments in time that they like really finally on like this is the thing. This is like, and when it's like a little different, it's like this is no longer the thing. This is.
Yeah.
But
Which
I don't
is
know.
interesting because, like, so many bands are on the area, and it's, I'm thinking ahead, like, what happens when people move away and
Oh yeah.
new bands come?
Yeah, I
it'll
mean,
be
like with like
really
Bug Moment and
cool.
Scam Likely, like that's like a whole like new iteration. It's like cool seeing like there's new artists coming
Yeah.
out and like
Yeah.
doing great things, and that's what I really like about Milwaukee is like there's just so much different things going on across different genres, and there's like never for me personally, like I've always thought about like should I move to like Chicago or New York or to like a bigger city where there's like
Right.
like for like making money with music, like people typically think you got to go to like one of those big three, like LA, Nashville, or New York. But for me, like it's like with Milwaukee, it's like there's just so much to learn. There's just so much for me to learn. The only circumstance where I feel like, well, not the only, but like the main circumstance that would like make me move out of Milwaukee is like if I felt like I couldn't learn more, like I wasn't being pushed or like. But
Sure.
right now, like in all like kind of avenues and respects, like respects, excuse me. There's just so many cool people
Yeah, man.
and things to learn.
from all kinds of bands and things that just keep pushing me to get better. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at.
Yeah, man. Worlds are changing. I think with the internet too, it's not like it used to be where like I think you can be in a small, and it's been proven with like a lot of bands to be found on the internet, and I think that it goes to show that you can really do a whole lot no matter where you're from, just with the power of the internet. So,
Yeah.
should we wrap this up?
Yeah, let's wrap my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're chilling. I can barely breathe out of my nose. Well, thanks for listening, y'all. Isaac Rapinski, everybody. Maybe maybe we'll see you at the show on Saturday.
We'll see you Friday.
Saturday
And Friday. Maybe.
And maybe we have a little surprise for you. We'll see. Maybe a little something. Wink. That's the little Easter egg that you get for watching the end of the video.
If you zoom in very closely, if you pause the video 5 seconds ago, you could see Parker. You could see Parker wink. Go back to that.
Yeah, right. There's a little surprise for you. So really excited about this show. Yeah. Isaac, thank you so much.
Thank you, Parker. Thank you for having me.
Isaac has been a blessing to the Milwaukee scene, and sounds like every freaking scene of music there is. But seriously appreciate you, and definitely like all the other people around me. Everyone fucking loves you, man. So keep doing what you're doing.
Means a
Big
lot.
inspiration.
Thank you so much.
Seriously.
Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, y'all. Bye.